Hey, 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 welcome to the last wrap up of the year. Yay, can 2025 just be over already? So yeah, I'm kind of a brunette today because I was arguing with my ex this morning and I left the toner in too long. So it's kind of brown, but it'll wash out because it's only toner. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, it's been a week of nothing. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope all that celebrate Christmas had an epic day. It was nice and warm here in Australia, so that's a really good thing. And we had some movement on BTC with some futures releasing. So that's another good thing. So before we jump in to chatting about BTC, I need to remind you that we are brought to you today by WeX. And if you want free signals, free scalp signals, head to Getting Started in Crypto, free signals with WeX. You can just head to Getting Started in Crypto. It is in the top corner here, free scalp signals, and that will take you to this page where you can sign up with WeX, and it will take you through how to do that, how to get the free signals. It is 100% worthwhile while this market is like crazy sideways and we're making money there. So make sure you do that. But yeah, it has been a week. It's definitely been a week. So let's have a look. BTC has stopped just under that pivot. So which is not ideal. And hi, Wow Digital. Nice to see you here. And if you are watching, there's not many watching as yet. Maybe I didn't send it through everywhere. Oops. But I will. I'll post it through later. But make sure you smash the like button so more people can find this and say hello. I know there's not going to be many people around because it's in between Christmas and New Year. It's that week where you're going, okay, what day is today? It's Saturday, or is it Sunday, or is it Monday? It's actually Monday. So that's why we're here. But we're here every week. I've only missed 1 week this year because I was in hospital. But other than that, I've been here. So yeah. Let's jump into BTC. So we've had some futures releasing. They started releasing this afternoon, and literally they should continue releasing right through until the 1st of Jan. So that we're going to get a bit of volatility over the next few days. Now, I'm going to move my pivot up here because we've got a wave 1 that has formed. Now, any pullback here must hold 88 and 63 on, this is a FEMEX chart. It will be slightly different. So it'll be about the 88,000 mark, depending on which exchange you're on. But it's the top of that wave 1. It reached the top of all the indicators. So that does mean that it's coming down at this point. So it must hold that region for this to continue to be bullish. Now, we really, truly, that one's orange, so that's quite a critical pivot. So that needs to break. So that's 90,400-ish. So if that breaks, likely we are testing that 94 range. And ideally, we want to get up and retest this region here, which is 102 to 103K. And that's our next major pivot. So that region remains untested, and we've got a really good setup in this region for this to go up. So we've got, this is the weekly. So we've obviously had a weekly close today. MACD is showing signs of flipping bullish. We have low bear divergence on here, and the stock is so low, stock RSI, so low on the weekly, and it's been sitting there since the bottom of this region. So ideally, that's where we want to start heading. So, and it's still set up, even though we're going sideways, but we do have those futures releasing, so a lot more volume should come into the market at that point. Obviously, I showed you yesterday on X that USDT is the highest crypto at the moment for liquidity. It's still holding underneath. It's still holding our pivot up here, so 6.743. I'm going to change that one orange as well, because this is a really critical pivot overall for this directional pattern. And right now we're holding that, and we've got an ABC formed, and we want that to continue down. So it's looking good on the indicators as well to do an inverse of what Bitcoin is doing. So that should be a good thing. DXY is following pattern and doing its thing. So we want that to continue to just crumble down. 94 would be a perfect storm for BTC to be heading up. So dominance again has crawled back on this support and is just sort of sitting there sideways. So a little bit more volume into BTC would be lovely to see. And for some reason, I would love to prove some of the bears wrong. Like, just to say, hey, we don't have a direction here, but, you know, calling 40,000 was completely wrong. So I'd like to see, you know, a confirmation of overall direction, and that being up and basically up like that. So yeah, we're going up. Sorry, Bess. So that's the ideal sort of pattern. That would be the one that I'd like to see, especially heading into the new year. It would turn the whole market around. It would make you guys feel happy and lively again, and bring everyone back to crypto. Ethereum is showing similar signs overall as well. So this is the weekly as well. MACD histogram is showing that it's got easing sell pressure. We're starting to sort of curl up. Early signs of that. Now, if we can start breaking these regions, especially on the weekly, if we get these crosses, that is huge. So if we drop this back down to a daily, we can see that we are likely to be testing the 3,500 mark for Ethereum. So that is looking good for Ethereum. We could have a little bit more sideways, but histograms flip positive. The MACD is looking really good, and the stock is looking good, and the RSI is sitting fairly neutral in the middle. So that's still a lot of movement potential. If you're scalping this, I wouldn't usually advise to scalp on the daily, but it looks like it's imminent cross on the 9 and the 21. If you follow my YouTube scalping strategy, this is perfect, because if we're looking at this, you know, on a higher time frame, it still works. 9 and 21 cross, and then it should break through the 50 and then head up to these 100 and 200. So that hits around that 3,500 mark. So that's a pretty nice move. If and when those cross, that is the likely point, because it usually goes through the momentum indicators. So it's about 16.5% move for Ethereum, which is really, really nice. So ideally, we'd like to do that going into the new year. Major pivot on Ethereum is 3,824. This is a Binance chart, so that may vary slightly from chart to chart. So just keep an eye on that. Now, a quick look. There's not a lot happening in the alts either, but I have seen some movement on XRP. Again, this is a daily. So if XRP can get across on the 9 and 21 EMAs, then we're looking at the resistance on the channel here as the most likely region. So this 100 MA will probably come back up to this region, and that is sitting at about 2.37. If it gets a break through that region, the 200 MA on the daily is 2.55. So they're realistic targets for XRP. The pivot on this one is 2.84. Now, we've covered this over the last couple of weeks, but we are just starting to see some momentum changing on some of these. So it does need to see these crosses on these indicators. So if we drop this back down, say to a 4-hourly, you can see we've had that cross in this region. We've come up to the 100 MA. Next stop is the channel median line and also the 200 MA at that point. So it's about 2. And that's probably when there'll be a pullback. And then that's when we get the retest of those levels and then a potential continuation. So, you know, if you're using indicators, I love using the 9 and 21 EMAs with the 100 and 200 MAs. So they just suit well. And I pair it up with these indicators down here, which I always use: divergence RSI, I use MACD, and the stock RSI. So the stock RSI is a really good momentum indicator, especially Ethereum is so easy to trade on it. Let's go back and have a look. So we can see at this point, we've got a nice bounce. So if you're just purely trading off the stock RSI, it sort of, you know, it twists and turns and comes back down and then it goes back up. You can see if you crossed, and you can run this back through, if you've got TradingView, you can run that back through the replay and you can see if that strategy really works, which, you know, it works more often than not. Sometimes they're a bit slow to cross it, but majority of the time you're catching the cross, especially on the higher time frames on the stock RSI. So you can see at this point, so if we go back here, we had a cross at this region and the high here was almost 10%. So if you're, you know, low level margin trading, that's a really nice move, especially in these downturn areas. So that's the, you know, the idealistic way of trading these, like really low liquidity. Stick to your BTC and Ethereum. Higher liquidity, they're going to have the most liquidity at most times of the cycle, and put a low level scalp on there. So even at 10% at 2 times, that's still 20% profit. So and that kind of happened over a day or two. So, you know, you could have taken this, it started to pull back and you're like, okay, cool, I'll get the next jump up. And then you would have gone at this point, it crossed and you would still be, it hasn't crossed down yet. So, you know, you would have got a 10, you would have jumped in at that point, you're at another 5. So, you know, if you're at 2 times leverage, 20% here, 10% here, you've made 30% in the last week. More than most stocks will ever do, except for gold and silver are racing at the moment. But majority of alts are, you know, and cryptos are that easy to trade. So yeah, so it's just a matter of sitting in front, watching that or setting alerts and having those go off. You can also automate it through TradingView as well, if you can run a script, a Pine script or something like that. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. ADA is playing out the wedge. It's looking good. We've got a signal in at GSIC on that. Solana has a resistance coming up at about 135. Now, if that can pass that resistance, then the next resistance in that region is 147 to 148. And post that, it's flying. So we want to see that movement and momentum happening. And of course, Zen, one of them that I have been loving at the moment, is over and above the previous resistance, which it has now flipped back into support. So this is a 4-hour chart, and this looks, as long as this support holds, this is looking really good to go. So a super, super quick one today because there's not a lot happening in the market, but of course, I'm always on X. Instagram mostly, but I think they've unbanned me now. Apparently I said something about crypto, so they banned me. Anyway, and you'll catch me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, X. and of course, inside getting started in crypto. So I will catch you all next year. That sounds so weird to say, but on the weekly wrap up. So yeah, see you next year. Bye now.